Chapter 11. Thanks to the squid. I can't believe you did that, Tommy said when I told him about the great picture disaster in the hallway. He bonked me on the shoulder with his backpack. I didn't mean to, I said. It was Samantha Grunsky's fault. You should have stayed out at recess, Tommy said, climbing onto the bus. Darren just kept talking about how you were a big chicken and how slow you were. What a bozo, I said. Don't worry, Tommy said proudly. I told him you were going to completely destroy him in the race. I told him you'd definitely race him tomorrow and you'd beat him by a mile. What did he say? He said to just wait and see what was going to happen. I told him he was nuts. I could already feel the wedgie Darren was going to give me. Great, I said. Thanks a lot. No problem, Tommy grinned. If Mrs. Burke didn't kill me first, Darren would make my life miserable. Still, it would be nice to beat him. I was tired of Darren's bragging. I wanted someone to beat him, and I guessed it would have to be me. I wondered if I could. I just hope Mrs. Burke doesn't call my parents about the great picture disaster. Me too, Tommy says. If she does, it'll be the great Charlie Bumpers disaster. Mrs. Burke didn't call my parents, but they still found out. Thanks to the squid. As soon as we sat down for dinner, she blurted out the whole story of my hallway catastrophe. I didn't even have time to shut her up. I tried to explain to my parents, but the more I explained, the worse it sounded. I just wanted to fix the dragon's egg, I said. Matt started to open his mouth. I knew he was going to say something to make me mad. Matt Bumpers, my mom warned, don't make this worse. I couldn't help it, I said. Dad just shook his head at me. You're going to have to do better than that, Charlie, he said. I was dying to ask him how he was doing with Mr. Grimaldi, but it seemed like a bad idea. The next day before recess, I decided to ask to borrow a ball from General Schuler, Intergalactic Supreme Commander of Soccer Balls. Mr. Schuler wasn't in the gym, but there was a new soccer ball lying right outside his office. I knew I shouldn't take it without letting him know. I found a piece of paper and a pen on his desk, and I left him a note. The fourth graders have borrowed your soccer ball. I will bring it back at the end of recess. Yours truly, Charlie Bumpers. Then I picked up the ball and ran out to the playground. Darren was already there with Tommy and some other kids waiting for me. Ready for the race? He asked, smiling his I'm going to give you a wedgie smile. Boogers, I'd forgotten about the race. Wouldn't you rather play soccer? I asked. Darren wasn't very good at soccer, but I thought it was worth a try. Nope. Tommy said you were going to kill me in a race, so let's see you do it. Just then, someone blew a whistle. We all turned and looked. It was the Intergalactic Supreme Commander of Soccer Balls. Mr. Schuler was marching straight toward me, and he didn't look happy. I wondered what he wanted. I'd left him a note about the soccer ball. Everyone was watching us. Give me the ball, son, he said. I handed it to him. Are you Charlie Bumpers? He asked, looking at the note in his hand. Yes, sir, I said. Mr. Bumpers, weren't you the one I talked to the other day about borrowing gym equipment? I nodded. And did you not remember that I specifically told you to get permission first? I remembered, I said, but when I went to ask your permission, I couldn't find you, so I left the note on your desk. That's not good enough, he said. I want you to ask me in person, but no buts. He held up his big finger, which was attached to his big hand, attached to his big arm, attached to his big body. If anyone borrows gym equipment again without permission, they're going to have to deal with me. And believe me, they won't like it. Mr. Schuler squeezed the soccer ball with one hand. I imagined him squeezing my head until my brains came out my ears. Do we understand each other? He asked. Yes, sir, I said, looking at the ground. Look at me, son, he said. I looked up at him. Let's not have any more problems. Would you like to borrow the ball? No, thank you, I said. I didn't feel like playing soccer anymore, and I don't think anybody else did either. Okay, then I'll see you kids later in gym class. He turned and walked over to where Mrs. Burke was standing. Before I knew it, Darren was at my side again. How about racing now? I looked at him. He was never going to give up. Okay, I finally agreed. I just hoped I could beat him. Then I saw Hector, the new kid, watching us, and I got an idea.